everybody, welcome to my channel. Today we are going to do what my mother called Swedish meatballs, but which is more of a sweet and sour meatball. So we're going to start with how I make my meatballs. I like doing them from fresh, but you can buy them frozen if you prefer. So I have about 1.5 pounds of ground beef, breadcrumbs, which I've made from stale bread that I let out to dry, and I just blend it up in my food processor, the Vitamix, but you can do it in food processor as well. Some garlic powder, onion powder, some ground pepper, and some salt. And I also like to put in a little bit of Worcestershire or Worcester sauce, as people will call it. So I put a couple tablespoons of that in. So we're going to add all these ingredients in and go from there. Okay, so we're going to add these breadcrumbs in. I do about, I don't know, 1.5 cups, 2 cups. I'll put the whole amount in there of the breadcrumbs, and I will squirt in, let's see, a couple tablespoons of Worcestershire. So we're just gonna shake a bunch around. I don't know, maybe 1/4 cup. Okay, we'll set that aside. I do want to add 1 egg just to kind of keep things moist. These again are from my friend Faith, so thank you again, Faith, for the lovely eggs. About a teaspoon of salt, so I just use my little salt crock here. So put about a teaspoon in, sprinkle that around, put that to the side, and about 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder, not garlic salt. Now if you do use garlic salt instead of garlic powder, don't add the regular salt in because we don't want it too salty. And about 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder. You can add in any other spices you like if you want to add something different, but this is just kind of a simple meatball recipe. And lastly, about 1/2 teaspoon of ground pepper. Like I said, add in what you do or don't like. If you want to add more, add more. If you want to add less, add less. It's all about what you like. So we're just going to smush this all up and mix it, and I'm going to get that all done, and we'll come back and get the meatballs ready. Okay, so I have this all mixed up, so this is what it's going to look like. You want it fairly moist, but not overly moist, because there's a lot of fat in the meat as well. So what we're going to do from here is, let me wipe my hand. We're going to, I like to cover my pan in foil. It just saves it from getting all crappy and burnt. And I use a Kirkland canola oil cooking spray. This is the best one on the market. The first ingredient is actually oil, not water. So if you're looking for one, grab that from Costco. It comes in a 2-pack. So I like to just spray the tin foil a little bit so the meatballs don't stick too much. And we're just going to take, I don't like doing huge meatballs. I want something we can just pop in our mouth if we want, or cut in half with a fork or a knife. So we're just going to make these into little rounds, about 1-inch rounds. So I'm just going to do all this and continue along with getting these meatballs ready. I've preheated my oven to 370 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm not sure what that is in Celsius, but I'm sure you can do the calculation if you're somewhere that uses an oven in the Celsius. So let me continue to roll these up, and we'll come back. Okay, so me and my lovely granddaughter Abby, who is here for the weekend, decided to help me out rolling the meatballs. So we've done a wonderful job, and Abby has done amazing. So what you want to do is we want to try to keep them all the same size, or as close to same size as we can. And I preheated the oven, like I said, to 375, so that's up to temperature now. We're going to put these in the oven for about 15 minutes. I will set the timer, and then we're going to turn them over, and we'll cook them for another 10 or 15 minutes and see where they are. Okay, so we're going to put these in the oven now, and we'll be back in 15 minutes. We'll just set the timer real quick here for 15, and when that beeps, we'll be back. Okay, so 3 seconds to 15 minutes, so we're going to turn that off. There we go. We're just going to cancel that timer, leave it on 375. We're going to take these out because they're about halfway cooked. You can see they're browning up just a little bit. So we're going to close these up so we haven't keep the heat in. I'm going to get these turned over, flip them a little bit. There we go. See the bottom is crisping up a little bit here, if you can see that. So that's basically what we're looking for. Okay, so I'm going to just go ahead and flip all these over and pop it back in the oven for about another 10 minutes. And we will come back then. Hi, okay, so while the meatballs are finishing cooking in the oven, I'm going to get the rest of this recipe ready. This is for the sauce, basically. And what we're going to do is cook the meatballs, do this sauce, and then put the meatballs into just simmer. It's the recipe calls for 20 minutes, but I just kind of let it simmer most of the day, so it or at least until it's to the thickness you want. So this is the recipe here, Swedish meatball sauce. It's well used. I had my hubby laminate these a while back. So my mother, she passed a number of years ago, and she had made these cookbooks for us with recipes we grew up with. So for this recipe, and I will post at the end of the recipe, we use 2 tablespoons of butter, 2 onions chopped fine, 2 tablespoons of white vinegar, 1 tablespoon of lemon juice, 1 cup of ketchup, half a cup of water, half a cup of brown sugar, and 1 tablespoon of soy sauce. Now I am doubling this recipe because this recipe calls for probably about a pound of meat, and I've done a little, maybe a pound and a half or a little bit more once you add on the all of the, you know, the breadcrumbs and the egg and whatnot. So I'm just going to chop these onions here. I also like to add a pepper in. Little trick about peppers that people don't know. So you'll notice most peppers have 3 or 4 bumps on the bottom. 3 bumps on the bottom of the pepper means it's a male. 4 is a female, and the 4 bumps on the bottom for the female, they actually are sweeter. I wasn't sure if this was a real thing or not, but I actually bought previously with the 3 bumps and the 4, and the 4 bumps are actually sweeter. So I'm going to chop these up in a small dice, and we'll come back. Okay, so I'm just going to finish chopping this. I want to give a tip. You know, we all know that when we cut an onion and we're chopping it for a recipe, our eyes tend to water a lot. You know, there's all kinds of tricks. Burn a candle, wear glasses, you know, burn a match, things like that. What I like to do is once I've chopped it in half, I rinse it with cold water, and it rinses off the oils from the onion. And that for me helps a little bit with that. Although I think no matter what trick you use, you do still tend to still get a little bit of watery eyes in these onions. So for this recipe, you can use any onions you want. Cooking onions, sweet onions, Spanish onions, red onions. I happen to have a red onion I want to use up in my fridge, so that's what I've decided to use today. And I'm just going to cut this pepper here, and well, yeah, cut the pepper up here, and then we'll go from there and get the rest of it together. We'll be right back. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to get the sauce started. So I have everything prepped on the stove here. I'm going to put on the front right burner. I'm going to put this is my power burner. I always tend to cook a little high, but we're going to start on 8 just to get things going. So I have a 1/4 cup of butter. We're going to add that in here, and what we want to do is melt that butter down a little bit. Thing there, we'll get that melted. And what we're going to do is add the onions and the peppers in. Like I said, you can add anything. If you don't want to do meatballs with this recipe, you can do pieces of chicken, you could do tofu, you can use pork. It's honestly delicious with everything. This is my favorite, as we usually serve it over rice. Sometimes, I'm going to turn that up a bit just to melt this a little quicker. We do it over rice. We sometimes serve it as like a meatball sub, and put some veggies on the side to get those extra veggies in. So this is melting down. I'm going to add in our orange or pepper here. Like I say, you don't have to add the peppers in if you don't want. You can add other veggies, and like I said, 2 good sized onions. I have today a sweet onion and a red onion. You can use any ones you want. So like I said, it's all about what you enjoy and what you think you're going to like. So we're going to add that in. And we don't have to saute them until they're soft, because this sauce is going to melt down a little bit. And so this is what we have at the moment. You can see there. So we've got that in. Cook that for a minute. There we go. Just kind of coat everything in butter. Now we're going to add in 2 cups of ketchup. I use French's because I support Canadians, so we're going to do the French's ketchup. But any ketchup brand you like, PC, No Name, Heinz, whatever suits your fancy. So we're going to add that ketchup in. This is the sweet part of our sauce. The other sweet part is 1 cup of brown sugar. Again, remember this recipe is being doubled, so that's 1 cup of packed brown sugar. Okay, so there's the sweet portion. We're going to just mix this all up. And it looks pretty thick. And now the sour portion is vinegar. So we have a 1/4 cup of vinegar here, so 4 tablespoons. There's our sour. It's going to give it a little bit of tang. 2 tablespoons of lemon juice, and that's fresh squeezed. You can use the stuff you buy in a jar as well. I prefer fresh, but I always have lemons on hand. And I also have 2 tablespoons of soy sauce. This is organic tamari, but you can use any soy sauce you like. You don't need to add any salt and pepper in this because there is plenty in the soy sauce. And the last ingredient is 1 cup of water, just to thin it out a little bit, because we do want a little bit more volume. So we're just going to let this simmer for 15-20 minutes. It'll soften the onions up. The longer you simmer, the longer, the softer the onions are going to get. And this is basically the sauce here. So I'm going to turn this down just about a 4 just to simmer it. And as you can see here, there's our sauce. Okay, and the meatballs will be done shortly. So we're going to let this sauce simmer away for a little bit. And then we will add the meatballs in and let it simmer for a good portion of our day. And we'll get back to you. Okay, so meatballs are done. We're just going to take these off the tray, plop them in, and just be careful not to let them spin on you. Or plop back, you don't want that hot sauce burning you. So it's gotten pretty hot there. So you don't have to have the onions softened before you put the meatballs in. This could be a really delicious recipe for a potluck. I've done it, made them in the crock pot. I do cook the meatballs ahead of time though. And if these aren't completely cooked through, that's fine because they will cook in the sauce. We're going to let this simmer on low probably for a couple of hours just so it gets maximum taste. So if you wanted to do these for a party, or you've been volunteered to bring something for a potluck, like I said, these are a delicious recipe to bring. Do any type of meatball you like, or pieces of meat, chicken. This would be a great sauce for a pulled pork. You could put that on a bun. So we're just going to make sure all these are submerged. I will move this pan out of the way and show you in the pot exactly what this looks like. This will simmer down, and the flavor is amazing. So this is our pot meatballs here. Okay, so I'm going to put that back on the stove. We'll put the lid on. I'm going to keep it on a lower temperature and just simmer it for a few hours. When we're ready to eat, I'm going to serve this on rice tonight. And I will introduce you to my lovely granddaughter, who's been my camera girl and helped me out with cooking and rolling the meatballs. So we'll be back when this is all done and show you how it all turned out. Okay, so we're all done. The meatballs are all cooked. Just wanted to show you here. So they've simmered, probably 3 or 4 hours. Simmer them as long as you want, as long as the onions and the peppers are soft. I've also made some basmati rice here. I just followed the recipe on the bag. And I added chicken stock as half of the liquid just for a little extra flavor. So we're going to plate this up. And this is our dinner tonight. Well, like I said, I have my grandchildren over. My little Miss Abigail. So we're going to give Abby some here. I like to serve this way, like I said, or I like to put it on, start off a little bit. I like to put it on a bun as well. So here we go. So we're just going to put a few meatballs on there with a bit of rice and a little bit extra sauce. Okay, and I want to hand this over here. Here you go, Abby. This is Abby. Say hi, Abby. Oh, here. Hi. Abby was my helper today. Here you go. Perfect. Yeah, go have a seat. And Nathan, I'm going to get you a plate of this. This is my grandson, Nathan. Say hi, Nathan. Hi. Okay. Hey, Nathan, I got a plate here for you with some meatballs, too. There you go. So these are my helpers today. Here you go. Here, give me Roger. You take that and go sit at the dining room table. All right, everybody, if you like this video, put a thumbs up. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and put an alert on there. So if I get a new video posted, you'll get that alert to let it know what's up. So thanks for joining us, and we'll talk to you soon.